Good day, dear ladies and gentlemen. We are ahead of time, so which is a very perfect result or beginning for our session. I am pleased to welcome you on the panel session, Tokenization of Assets, New Era for Financial Markets in the Digital Economy. So it's a part of Astana Finance Days, and there's one remark from AFC. AFC would like to extend sincere thanks to esteemed partners, Freedom Broker, Kazminerals, and ITS for their continued support and valuable contribution to the development of the forum. So it's in regards to forum. Today, we already are witnessing the trend and transformation from pure concept to practical use cases and practical implementation of such tool as tokenization of digital assets. Of course, the most popular or more spread for the beginning of this trend is tokenization of securities. Later on, we are talking about the tokenization of commodities, and who knows what we will be talking about in like 5 to 10 years. Our goal today is to discuss how asset tokenization is reshaping capital market, is it creating more efficient, transparent, and inclusive financial ecosystem? And let me introduce our distinguished panelists. Juan Kiat is a fintech director at Philip Securities, investment house licensed by Monetary Authority of Singapore. He's a professional with more than 20 years of experience in the tech industry. He's leading and delivering, the most important thing, complex technology projects into the finances. Let me introduce Binur Zhallenov. He is Chief Digital Officer of the National Bank of Kazakhstan. He needs no introduction since he is one of the creators of our CBDC, Digital Tenge. Jesse Knudsen is the Chief Operations Officer at the Bitfinex Securities, an AFC licensed security token exchange. And Yerlan Tajbayev, who is CEO of ETSE, which is the platform focused on the development of market infrastructure and new trading segments, unusual for the Kazakhstan and for AFC as well. So let me start with Juan Kiat, and the first question to you. Please provide us with your opinion on the title of our session. Is tokenization a new era for financial markets?
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me here. All right. I think the short answer is yes, or else we will not be sitting here. I think it's more than that. We start to see this tremendous increase in tokenization trends and the amount of assets being tokenized. The figure that struck me beginning of the year when I was looking at BlackRock tokenized treasury products was, I think, not hitting $1 billion. And when I see it June, right, I was reporting to my boss. It was 2.5. That's how fast it has grown. So for sure, Philip has always been interested in serving the wider investment community. And I think this will create an efficiency way of distributing, managing investment product for the full life cycle. That's for sure our conviction within the Philip Capital Group. Right.
From your point of view, how tokenization can influence on the retail investors' engagement with traditional finances or tokenized forms?
Okay, we see a big trend on 24 hours trading at this point. So we are currently focusing on tokenizing money market fund. So this is our very first project, not our very first project. This is our second project, our third project. Before that, we look at private equity. So the retail investors will start to be used to two things: 24 hours trading and immediate settlement, right? And all this will be provided by tokenizations itself. So, you know, we are used to non-immediate payment 20, 30 years ago, right? Right now, we are so used to immediate payment. We see that the preference of retail investors is going to move to 24 hours, even 24/7, together with immediate settlement, immediate money being exchanged, and the product being exchanged.
Thank you. My next question is to Binur. Binur, the media full of news from the National Bank in regard to digital assets. So what are the recent initiatives of the National Bank of Kazakhstan in regard to digital assets, including tokenization?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting for this wonderful event. For sure, it has become one of the key events of financial industry, not only in Astana, but in Central Asia. As for your question, as you might know, according to the order of the president, the financial regulators, including National Bank, which is central bank, and Agency for Financial Regulation, together we developed a set of legal amendments that are now under consideration in the parliament to essentially build a regulatory framework for digital asset circulation in Kazakhstan. So for us, it's not about chasing the hype, but rather to achieve, in my opinion, three core strategic goals. The first is monetary and currency sovereignty. As you all know, on July 18th, the President Trump signed and Congress approved the Genius Act and Clarity Act, which expanded and accelerated the adoption of digital assets worldwide, which legalized the status of digital dollar, which is USDT, USDC, and other forms. And that's a good thing because institutional players started to adopt this kind of new forms of money and other financial instruments faster, but it's also a risk for developing economies like Kazakhstan, because essentially what we might see is a hidden dollarization, or as one might call cryptization of economy. And it's important for us, moreover, it's critical for us to build our national sovereign ecosystem that thrive, so, and with tenge at the heart. So that's the core motivation of the central bank. The second is, as you all know, we have a already huge market of digital assets in Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, huge part of it is still in unregulated area, and it's important to to break this regulatory arbitrage, to make a regulatory environment a little bit much more attractive than unregulated environment. And also, it's the third goal is to make crypto industry one of the new points of growth for digital economy in Kazakhstan. In order to achieve that, strategically, what we are going to build is a national ecosystem that has a proper infrastructure, proper regulation at place, and other vehicles that would help market participants to launch products like tenge-pegged stable coins or tokenization platforms and access the customer base. And in order to achieve that, so we have like three directions of work at the moment. The first is, again, legal amendments. The fundamental amendment is withdrawal of the ban of crypto circulation in mainland in Kazakhstan. So it's not going to be banned. We're also going to introduce a licensing regime for OTC crypto exchanges so that people can exchange. And we are going to, in parallel, to expand existing crypto to fiat channels in terms of limits, access of legal entities, and many other things as well. We also hope that these amendments will help to thrive for tenge-backed stablecoin. Again, it's not like issuing stablecoin for the sake of having tenge-backed stablecoin. It's about building ecosystem around that stablecoin, currency pairs, liquidity pools, market makers who support that. That's a huge work, and that requires some legal amendments. And the a huge part is building the whole new framework for tokenization. So we're going to introduce a new taxonomy for tokenized assets. They're going to be unbacked assets like crypto and foreign stablecoins, etc., and backed assets. These backed assets will be categorized in three categories. The first is natively tokenized financial asset. When the bond or security or other thing, it's tokenized in the platform. The second is financial asset backed tokens when you have existing bond securities and you put it in as a collateral and issue tokens. And the third is are stable coins. We're not just introducing taxonomy, but the whole licensing regime for the issuers, for the requirements to custody and many other things. And many other amendments, but that's a long story short. In parallel, we launched our regulatory sandbox. We already have 8 projects in the sandbox, including stable coins, etc. So we're going to introduce that. And we're also still just considering, the establishment of state crypto reserve. It's not, again, chasing the hype. We have some thoughts how to utilize this crypto reserve, potential as a liquidity pool for tenge-backed stable coins, and potential as a settlement liquidity pool for cross-border settlement infrastructure. But we'll see. We will announce this news soon. So again, many things are happening. That's a very long story, very short. Yeah.
Thank you. That was very interesting, even to me. Another topic which is crucial for every stakeholder in regard to the landscape of the digital assets market in the Kazakhstan. How do you see the interaction of digital assets markets of so-called mainland Kazakhstan and AFC? Binur? Did you get the question?
Well, AFC is doing a great job on the building regulatory framework. It's serving as a primer not only for us as a mainland, but for other jurisdictions as well. As far as I'm informed, IOSCO considered your regulation as one of the benchmarks for a regulation of digital asset circulation, which is fine. So we learn a lot from you, essentially. But fundamentally, AFC and mainland has different mandates, right? So, and the core mandate of AFC is bringing foreign capital and doing this stuff, and tokenization is a great instrument to building so. But for us, it's another mandate, is to unblock liquidity within the mainland through tokenization, to democratize access for investors, to provide new financing instruments for SME, and many other things. So I believe there are going to be some interaction, of course, and we should work on the mutual recognition for certain use cases of tokenized assets, so that the tokenized assets issued in the IFC can be legally recognized by us to be, for example, a collateral for lending, for example, and vice versa. And but again, the devil is in the details, of course. And so we hope to kick off this particular work very soon. And again, we should find synergies between two regulations. There shouldn't be some competition or something like that, because we have two different market segments essentially that we serve. So we should help each other to serve our market segments more effectively and efficiently. And I think we have a chance to do so. So that's that's a philosophy behind our potential collaboration.
Thank you. Totally agree on my side. And the IOSCO document you mentioned, it's just a draft today, but later on in October it will be officially published, and we will make it available for the general public. Jesse, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Maybe general public not that aware that the first listing on your AFC licensed securities token exchange held back to 2021. So that's a long experience, and having in mind this experience, what successful or non-successful asset tokenization cases can you highlight as most relevant to Kazakhstan, to maybe emerging markets?
Thank you very much. Tech support from the National Bank. Yeah, no, this is, time goes by very quickly indeed, and this is actually my third Stana Finance Days. I missed last year, so 2021, it's been quite a long time. So we've been working on tokenized securities for a number of years. And following up on some of the comments from the previous panelists about the rate of growth in the industry, I think this is something that we're very encouraged by. I think we had a vision many years ago, and it feels increasingly, there's a lot of pushback when you first have a vision, but I think we've seen increasingly the consensus view, I think, start to catch up with that vision, and I think that's very encouraging for us. Recently I was in London. I had a chance to speak on a panel with BlackRock and Schroders, and I thought, well, this is, a very interesting data point. We have BlackRock and Schroders and Bitfinex Securities. And following up on Biner's comments as well, I think it's very encouraging to hear these comments from the National Bank of Kazakhstan. And this is one of we had this idea of the perception towards digital assets in the AIFC, and I think in Kazakhstan more broadly. And that's the reason why we first registered our business and began this business here in the AIFC. We had choices globally, and the AIFC was our first platform our first location to set up base. Since then, we've also opened up offices in El Salvador. We also had an opportunity to contribute to how the framework was established in El Salvador. We were the first firm globally to be licensed there. We very proudly have license 0001, which is a very good number. And now I'm happy to say that across the two platforms, we're coming up on a total of $250 million in tokenized assets. And we expect that number to increase into the end of the year. And the exciting part about that is that we see new verticals starting to come to market. So I think one of the interesting things about the development of the market, and maybe why I think it's been a little bit slow in some regards, is there's been a bias towards fixed income type products. And these are products that people tend to buy and hold and not necessarily trade. I think towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year, we'll see a lot more equity come to market. So we're excited to have public equity, private equity coming to market. And these are the assets that people in conventional markets tend to trade. So I think this will be very exciting for us to see more trading on the platform going forward. Yurkingeli mentioned our first listing in 2021. I think that was a really exciting product as well. That was the Blockstream mining note. So I kind of see our services to the market in two different segments. We have our services to investors, which is to provide them access to unique assets. In some markets, it's just provide them access to assets, right? So across Latin America, for example, it's very difficult for people to invest in things like money market funds or U.S. Treasuries. We have a product out of the El Salvador regime that allows people to buy tokenized U.S. Treasuries for as little as $1. We also, the first issuance that we put on the platform here was the Blockstream mining note. I think it was the flagship product for the industry. It was a tokenized hash rate contract, slightly more exotic product, but it was properly tokenized. People could withdraw it, pull it off the platform. They could self-custody it. They could even trade it peer-to-peer within this whitelisted ecosystem, and yet it was also a security with an ISIN number. So that was a very, I think, groundbreaking product, and eventually it lived through its full lifespan in the AIFC. It matured after 3 years and ended up executing the largest RWA payout, returning more than 1,200 Bitcoin to people. So at today's valuation of $112,000, that's quite a bit of money. Since then, we've done a series of tokenized bonds here in the AIFC. We've done corporate notes, and we've done a litigation finance product, which I think is also a really interesting vertical. It's a asymmetric kind of uncorrelated asset. So rounding it out, I think we've been fairly successful in bringing new assets to the platform. I think this is relevant to investors. We've focused on professional investors, giving them access to these products that maybe they would struggle to get access to elsewhere. Going forward, I think our aspirations are really to fill out the second part, I think, of what our business is, which is helping issuers raise capital to fund their businesses and to drive growth. And I think this will also be, very relevant to issuers and to businesses in Kazakhstan. We've, as Jürgen Geli mentioned, been in the FinTech lab for a number of years. This year we're looking, I think we've hit the scale now where we're ready to mature, move on to the full license, to focus on offering some of these issuances to retail investors, and working with some of our friends in Kazakhstan, people like Skybridge, to help bridge the gap for issuers here in Kazakhstan and in the AIFC to gain access to pools of global capital, and hope to see these issuances on the market by the end of the year.
Jesse, let me provoke you with one practical question. So what regulatory or technical changes are necessary for wider adoption of tokenization?
Yeah, I think so I've historically looked at this as kind of 3 or 4 parts of a puzzle, right? So I think the technology was the first part, and I think Biner would agree that we've kind of ticked the box on that. We definitely have the technology. We have platforms like Bitfinex and Bitfinex Securities that can do massive amounts of volume, can trade 24/7, can do real-time settlement. This has all been battle tested over the last decade or so as the digital asset industry has grown. We also have protocols like the Liquid Network, which is a sidechain, a layer 2 of Bitcoin that we use to do issuances. It allows us to set up whitelisted ecosystems so that we can meet our regulatory obligations, but we can also provide users with this Bitcoin or Tether-like user experience, right? Where I can send anyone in the audience a transaction. If you're on the whitelist, the token will go directly to you. If you're not, it will fail and be rejected. So that's how we can make sure that our products aren't going into places they're not supposed to go. The second part of the puzzle is having investment-worthy assets on the platform. So if everyone thinks back to the ICO boom of 2016, 2017, it was focused on these high-risk, high-reward, very early-stage investment kind of ideas. That's not where we're at anymore. We have much more mature, we have publicly listed companies coming to us, we have tokenized bonds, we have all kinds of different assets. So I think we're there as well. Historically, in the first couple of years when we were pushing this business, I think the slowest part to move was the regulatory frameworks. I think we've ticked that box as well. I think we've got a great regulatory jurisdiction here in the AIFC. El Salvador is also very workable. I really do think that this is an opportunity. The previous speaker mentioned the Genius and the Clarity Acts. I think security regulation is much trickier for the incumbent players, for the mainstream financial centers like the US, like the G7. I really do think this is an opportunity for small and mid-sized economies like Kazakhstan, like El Salvador, like Central Asia, like Latin America, to leverage this technology and in many cases leapfrog competitors or close the gap with traditional capital markets. I would say the only challenge we have left, the fourth piece of the puzzle, is building on the distribution side. So we have investors on our platform that are very focused on digital assets. They're high net worth crypto investors. They're very front foot institutional money, family offices. But we don't have the distribution network into private wealth, into those kind of investors. And I think bridging that gap and developing those distribution capabilities into more traditional investors that I think will really like the technology once they grow to understand it. As you mentioned, real-time settlement, 24/7. I'm sure every fund manager and trader would love to have access to that. So I think that's kind of where we are now. We've ticked the 3 boxes and we need to work on the 4th box. But I feel increasingly that the consensus view is that tokenization is the direction the capital markets will evolve.
Thank you, Jesse. Ирлан, я бы хотел задать вопрос вам. Как токенизация может повлиять на финансирование или формы финансирования крупных инфраструктурных энергетических проектов? Насколько я понимаю, это ваша специализация, да? И могут ли эти инструменты финансирования стать привлекательными для большой аудитории инвесторов?
Спасибо. Да, про большие энергетические проекты я хотел бы сказать, что у нас сейчас открыто обсуждение, как это правильно сделать в Казахстане с учетом регуляции доступной. Но у нас есть уже полученный опыт, то есть то, что мы уже сделали. Кроме того, что мы хотели бы привлечь через токенизированные инструменты возможности инвестирования в большие проекты, которые ставят нам глава государства, да, то есть привлечь инвестиции. Я бы хотел рассказать, почему мы находимся сейчас в этой точке, где вот такие возможности появляются. Мы представляем ЕТС, это 15 лет опыта в коммодити национального рынка, и с 2024 года мы активно работаем уже по рынку экспорта и импорта через лицензию наших уважаемых партнеров Международного финансового центра Астана. И вот самая сегодня актуальная тема – это вот участие в токенизации реальных активов. Мы предложили интересную программу по токенизации товарных рынков, и интересно, что глава государства делает вот на это большой упор. Мы этот проект, то, что смогли сейчас уже показать результат, это в энергетике пока, наверное, я не могу заявлять, у нас нету до сих пор еще решения, что это возможно со стороны государства. Но есть уже вещи, которые реализованы. Это токенизированный рынок в зерне, агропромышленный комплекс. Уже сейчас вот в Кустанае проходит на базе Sandbox МФЦА первый такой опыт по токенизации физического зерна. Зачем это нужно? На самом деле это звучит как вот какое-то будущее, но впервые в Казахстане мы сейчас находимся на острие вообще регуляторного рынка в сфере цифровизированных активов и их торговли. И мы хотим получить доступ к токенизации товарных рынков. Зачем это нужно? 15-летний опыт, который работает уже в Казахстане по национальному рынку, подсказывает, что очень сильный конфликт интересов между участниками. И вот этот баланс интересов нужно всегда учитывать. В первую очередь это государство, это крупные экспортеры, импортеры, это наши партнеры, которые покупают нашу продукцию. И вот с вот этим балансом интересов приходится сталкиваться, в том числе в энергетическом рынке. Но яркий пример – это вот то, что мы сейчас делаем по зерновым. Токен по зерну, он нужен для чего? Первое, для того, чтобы было ускоренный оборот по сделке, минимальное время, затраченное на транзакцию. И самое главное – это прозрачность. То есть у нас у государства очень много вопросов к сфере агропромышленного комплекса, к сельхозникам. И то, что происходит, очень много серого импорта, экспорта. И вот этот баланс интересов между экспортером и государством можно решить за счет токенизированных инструментов. Поэтому мы сейчас, ну, думаю, до конца года уже будет точно проведен пилот окончательно по поводу физической сделки, связанной с товаром. Это будет конкретно зерно. В Кустанае сейчас получено уже вот таким возможности доступа к элеваторным мощностям для того, чтобы токенизировать тонну зерна, которую можно будет через этот токен продать на экспорт. Почему это важно? Первое. Токен позволяет очень многие вещи, связанные с регуляцией, оформить внутри смарт-контракта для того, чтобы у наших экспортеров не было проблем, в первую очередь, с ценообразованием комплайенса, когда ты уходишь на экспорт. Я понимаю, что не все, наверное, сталкиваются с этим, но когда ты уходишь на экспорт по физическим товарам, вопрос очень большой сейчас – это возврат НДС. И вот как раз-таки регуляция этого вопроса через смарт-контракт позволяет сделать этот вопрос прозрачным. И это позволяет экспортерам возвращать НДС быстрее. Второе – это трансферное ценообразование. Любой товар, который мы экспортируем по закону о трансферном ценообразовании, должен проходить ценовой комплайнс с международными площадками. И вот мы хотим создать инструмент для наших экспортеров на базе МФЦ, чтобы здесь могли наши экспортеры получать две основные преференции. Это быстрый возврат НДС от государства и ценовой комплайнс, который будет приравнен к международным. Почему я говорю про зерновые? Потому что это уже то, что мы сейчас реализовываем, то, что уже в работе, и оно, в принципе, к концу года уже будет конкретными результатами. Что можно сделать еще? Любой товар, который уходит на экспорт, можно токенизировать через нашу площадку и пользоваться возможностью облегчения доступа к преференциям, да, то есть от государства по ускорению процесса транзакционных вот этих издержек, которые связаны в первую очередь с коммуникацией с государством. Это большой проект. Мы очень благодарны, что есть площадка МФЦ, которая дает нам такие возможности для таких амбициозных проектов. И вот 15 лет опыта в трейдинге, коммодити, да, в физическом споте, впервые Казахстан находится на острие нормативно-правовой базы, которая опережает многие страны уже сейчас. Я хотел бы просто поделиться с вами, что токенизация как форма позволяет сократить все издержки, связанные с поставкой либо экспорт, либо импорт физического товара. И это как раз та история, когда можно применить технологию для того, чтобы оцифровать реальный товарный оборот, который в Казахстане, в принципе, я думаю, не секрет, все в Казахстане, все мы живем, что мы до сих пор, наверное, пока остаемся, это большая наша задача, но мы до сих пор commodity-стан, то есть все, что в экономику приходит из экспортной выручки, оно продается, конечно, это commodity. Поэтому мы взяли для себя эту амбициозную задачу, начали с рынка АПК, но за ним, в принципе, хотели бы тоже прикоснуться к металлам, к нефтяным экспортным возможностям, но это в будущем. То, что сейчас сделано по поручению, наверное, и руководства МФЦ, и самого главы государства, это агропромышленный комплекс и его прозрачность. Многие вещи, на самом деле я хотел сделать презентацию, но так как это невозможно, здесь приходится на пальцах словами все рассказывать. Но это большой проект, который позволяет очень сильно ускорить экспортный потенциал Казахстана. То есть за счет того, что мы ускоряем оборот технологически через блокчейн, через прозрачность, мы очень сильно можем повысить экспортный потенциал Казахстана, в первую очередь сначала ВПК и уже по остальным позициям. Все, что в товарах измеряется, мы можем это сделать на нашей площадке ТСЕ. Это коротко. По поводу энергетического мы пока похвастаться не можем, потому что мы столкнулись с национальным регулированием. Большая работа идет. Я думаю, пока заявлять рано, может быть, в следующем году мы уже и это по большому проекту заявим конкретные результаты. Я рассказал то, что конкретно уже сделано. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое, Ирлан. Если вы не хотите раскрывать свои секреты, то да, оставим это на следующий год. Уважаемая аудитория, к счастью, у нас осталось дополнительно, благодаря эффективности и очень хорошим выступлениям наших панелистов, еще 5 минут. Поэтому вы можете задать вопрос. Да, пожалуйста. Пожалуйста, представьтесь и уточните, кому обращен вопрос.
Thank you very much. My name is Roman Smagulov. I'm from Switzerland, but I was born in Kazakhstan, so very happy to be here again. Thank you for this excellent panel on tokenization. A new era for financial markets. I see it the same in the future, but right now what we see is just a repackaging of already very efficient financial instruments that are existing since decades already in the traditional finance markets. Concretely, treasuries, gold, and real estate. So the economic value generation is very low or almost not existing. So my question is to the gentleman in the panel, and who is capable of answering the question, please feel free. What are the use cases that you see real economic value is generated through tokenizations for countries like Kazakhstan, for an example? I give some hints: trade finance, working capital provision to companies, and SME financing.
Thank you, Roman, for the question. Thank you for reaching out in LinkedIn, by the way, as well. So that's like one of the key motivations to build the regulation for tokenization is to provide a new financing instrument for SME specifically, right? In a number of ways. First, we can, through tokenization, make liquid something that used to be cannot be liquid, right? It might be debt, like a tokenized factoring, for example, trade finance, etc., etc. And we believe that's going to be a huge vertical because at the moment you have 1.5 trillion tenge blocked as a debt from the government to SME essentially in public procurement, for example. And tokenization can unlock this liquidity, and that's a huge deal. The second practical use case is to use tokenized assets as a collateral again for financing. And we already have in Regulatory Sandbox a specific project that are now starting serving real consumers in mainland jurisdiction. Starting from September, I believe they're going to be first transactions. And we believe these practical use cases, specifically we have the order of the president actually to find a new ways of SME financing. And we believe tokenization will be a part of this answer.
Thank you very much. I believe the same.
If I could jump in on that as well, I'd like to say that, you know, I think what we're doing, it sounds very revolutionary, but I think basically it's just upgrading financial market infrastructure. So all we're trying to do is to try and make markets faster, cheaper, more efficient. And I think there's also an opportunity to broaden financial inclusion, which I think is very important. So, you know, one of the unique things about our group of companies, Tether, Bitfinex Securities, is that we've seen a lot of growth and adoption and focus in emerging markets. Tether is very widely accepted in emerging markets. And the reason is because people do not have access to high quality financial products, right? In a lot of parts of the world, their currencies are unstable, inflation is rampant, and Tether becomes a natural choice. Our thesis is that the same thing will happen for financial products. There will be a lot of demand and growth driven by these kind of economies because we've seen it in El Salvador and in Latin America. They have, you know, to be honest, quite antiquated financial infrastructure and access to, very limited access to financial products. And we think there's going to be a lot of demand from these jurisdictions as well. So I think financial inclusion, I would broaden that to include what our conversation about retail investors also, and younger people, giving them investment opportunities into some of these products. So yeah, I think there are some very interesting applications.
All right, 1 minute. Just 30 seconds. So the fact that tokenization increases the speed of transactions without increasing the cost actually evolved the use case for funds. Funds has been around for a long time, right? Mutual funds, right? So we are seeing in Singapore, we looking at collateralizations, using it as a collateral, and also as a storage for stablecoin, because stablecoin not protecting you, right? So money market fund allows you to trade in and out for the 4 or 5% US dollar yield that people are looking at. So those are increased use cases that actually benefit the fund manager, benefits the ecosystem on the whole.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ladies, gentlemen, please.
Hello, everyone. I have a question for Jesse. My primary question is that Bitfinex is primarily a very big company, very big exchange. And I'm interested why Bitfinex Securities was located in AFC and also in El Salvador. Why didn't you choose, for example, Hong Kong, Singapore, any other countries?
That's a very good question, and I get asked that question quite often. I think that Jürgen Gelli and I think Binur probably helped me answer this in a lot of ways. I think the attitude of the regulators, the attitude of policymakers, I think is, you know, I think more front foot. I think people have a better understanding of the technology here. I wonder if it's because Bitcoin mining has been so large and successful in Kazakhstan that people have developed a better understanding of the technology earlier than other jurisdictions where people will still ask you if Bitcoin is going to go to zero. We don't hear that question very often anymore. I guess it's more, will it add another zero, I think is a question more worth considering. The regulators are also very approachable. So we're able to have conversations with our colleagues at AFSA regularly and able to have input onto the development of various frameworks, which I think is very important to us. And El Salvador is very similar in a lot of ways too. Obviously, El Salvador, for a number of reasons, is a very interesting country. I think they embrace the same philosophical outlook of the world that we have. They see Bitcoin as revolutionary technology. And I think we often say that El Salvador is kind of unique. You look around the world at the G7 economies, at the US, at the UK, and El Salvador is very unique in understanding the value proposition of our industry. They understand that the value of our industry lies in Bitcoin, stable coins, tokenized securities, and tokenized real world assets. And that's it. And everything else, I think, is noise, and that's where the signal is. And these two jurisdictions understand that, and they want us to be there, and we're happy to contribute as much as we can to these jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear audience. Thank you, dear panelists. So my congratulations to all of you, since according to our panelists, we are living already in the tokenization. We are living in new era. Of course, there are a lot of new features, enhancements to the traditional finances, I might say. And who knows, maybe those features will deliver some new products later on with the further development of tokenization. So thank you for your interest. Have a nice AFD.